Je vais appeler monsieur Bernard Michel et monsieur Alexandre Missoff, donc nos partenaires d'aujourd'hui, que nous remercions chaleureusement. Nous avons passé une journée fort agréable, très intéressante, très captivante, très instructive en tout cas, et j'espère en tout cas qu'elle portera tous ses fruits, parce que les délégations présentes ont marqué un intérêt certain pour les sites que nous avons visités.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for the invitation in Cannes. It's a pleasure to meet you this night and to give you some overview about the Greater Paris investments. It's a real challenge because on the economic side, this project represents 50 million euros of public investment, and especially 30 for the transportation system. And this means that with this infrastructure investment, we will enhance the investments at a level of 100 billion euros and double the growth rate, the growth trend for the next decade in Paris and in France. So what I would like to say is that this question of this big area is how can we modernize the infrastructure, invest in residential, offices, retail, railway stations, and so on. And you must know that the GDP of this Greater Paris represents average 700 billion euros. This is 1/3 of the growth of the GDP of France, and it will probably grow to 850 billion euros in 10 years. And we have to build this network with railway stations, but also we have to link the clusters. We will have some help probably with this dynamic. I will come back to that, but also with the Olympic Games in 2024, perhaps with the Brexit, if some companies come to Paris in France. And our main characteristic is that we are the largest real estate market in continental Europe. And this is the reason why we believe that with these projects, with an economic policy which is now in France business open, business friendly, with reforms like the first reforms for the labor laws, giving flexibility to the entrepreneurs, with decisions, reforms which will change the context, the economic context in France. With these projects, with this context, we think that with flexibility, we will have more attractiveness and economic growth. These projects will be financed by private money, but also by public money. And the public money is coming from the companies, from the entrepreneurs. The contribution of the firms with taxes on the office market, taxes on tourism, will represent 85% of the investment in the railway station. And we are already paying for the maintenance of this railway station system. We are paying 50% of 5 billion euros every year. But we believe in this investment because if we come back to the cluster, please, there are large different investments. Saclay in technology, the Western creation on new technologies, innovation, media, La Défense, you were there, they probably talked about the investments and the growing real estate field of La Défense. Saint-Denis player, which is specialized in industry of medias also, but also with big airports, Le Bourget, Charles de Gaulle, Orly, and so on. And this is the reason why we think that the railway station will be able to link all these clusters and to give to the investment a real possibility to generate growth. If we look at the main demand from the people, the railway transportation system will probably improve a lot the transportation conditions of the people, with more mobility for the employees, the clients, the visitors, more accessibility to the business places. 48% of the firms and the large majority of the people are waiting for this project as a counterpart of the metropolization of the Greater Paris. It's a challenge to give also for the employees which are living in this area better residential conditions. This means probably residential to build in these areas. And we know that it's very important for the growth, because when people have bad conditions, difficulties to come to their work space, it's a source of absenteeism, of turnover, and so on. So this is key for us, for the companies. This is key also for the people. I'm now chairman of a company whose name is VIPARIS. VIPARIS is a big company representing 2.5 billion euros in assets, congress centers and exhibition centers. This means la Porte-Maillot, le Palais des Congrès, la Porte-Maillot. This means the exhibition center of Porte de Versailles, Le Bourget, Villepinte in the north, but also le Carrousel du Louvre, but also an area which is in La Défense, le CNIT, and a lot of different places, big and average places, in order to attract people. 9 million visitors every year in these congress centers and exhibition centers. This is also key for this project, because this is tourism but also business, and we are working hard to improve our offer for the companies, for the congresses, for the different exhibitions. And what I know is that, and this is coming from my former company, which was gestionnaire. Gestionnaire is a company, real estate investment trust dedicated to the office market in Paris. 19 billion euros in assets, 500 million euros in results, listed company, which is dedicated to Paris, to this area. And this company is investing at this moment in the Greater Paris and looking at these clusters to find out where the best places will be, but also in residential, because we think that there is a link between these two activities. We will probably, for this region, increase the number of apartments which are constructed from 70,000 to 19,000 per year, because there is a big lack of residential in this area. At this moment, there is no inflation, no speculation around the stations, around the clusters. But the local authorities will have to be aware of this in order to try to contain any speculation. And we have also to prepare with the private sector the conditions to make it soft, because we need offices, we need industrial activities, we need retail centers, we need residential, a lot of different things with the infrastructure. We will probably have you could go to the other one with this. We will probably have to find out how it will work for the next years, because this will be built until 2030 and mainly 2024 for the Olympics. But as you can see, probably the clusters, the big investment centers will be Pont de Sèvres, probably Orly, mainly Roissy and this area. And we have congress centers there with a lot of land where we could build residential and so on at VIPARIS, but also at the Fontenay and so on. So when we have the investors with us, we will probably have a big investment for this area, and not only the network, the transportation network, which is the backbone, the condition to continue, but probably a condition which will lead to a big growth for this big region of Paris. And you must know also that this is only the Grand Paris Express, but Paris is also an European platform with these three international airports, 7 high-speed trains, the Eurostar, and Paris is less than 4 hours from the main European cities. And Paris is the biggest area for real estate of all Europe. So the conditions are there. It's exceptional to have these conditions to merge the private investments with the public investments. 30 billion investment for the transports, with a fully automatic metro line, 68 stations, 205 kilometers, and everything will be interconnected. And we think that this backbone will probably lead more activity, will probably interest the investor. Tu peux l'avancer. This is the map, and you see on this map the main stations, and probably the new cities which we will build in this area, because you know France is very centralized and Paris is the center, but we will probably have the opportunity to decentralize in this big region offices, retail centers, residential, and perhaps some industry, perhaps agriculture also, in order to give to this region the possibility to expand more in different fields. In terms of size, the Greater Paris for the real estate sector represents 50 million square meters. This is more than the other towns in Europe, more than London, 35, and the take-up in Paris, in the Greater Paris, reaches more than 2 million square meters against 1 million in London for the last years. So for real estate investors, international investors, the target will be to imagine the future hubs where we will concentrate the business and the investments. And everything is thinking about that. You visited La Défense. La Défense is one of the biggest spots. They have probably the possibility to attract a lot of new investors. You know probably that they have 500 companies in this area with these big buildings. But we think that with the new railway stations which will be built in La Défense and at Port-Maillot, probably it's one of the best places to continue to invest. The market, and this is important for the investors, is a market without any oversupply. It's a market with a huge transparency. It's an unified market with a solid, stable, safe support and a very diversified demand. Probably we could say that the conditions are optimal to invest now. The interest rates are low, could go up. The Brexit will probably change the localization for some companies. Some companies have decided already, some banks, to come to Paris, like JP Morgan, like Citigroup, like HSBC. The authority, the financial European authority is coming to, I suppose, La Défense. And this means that the impact will be huge on all the sectors, but also on the residential sector. This is the trend for construction of residential, of apartments, and as you see, it's going up and will probably continue, even if at this moment there is something happening which is bad, because people are, with the new regulations, are thinking about the future, and so they stopped a little to invest, but we are working in order to liberalize the regulations and to give the possibility to the funds, to the institutionals to invest in flats. You must know that the investments in apartments in France is mainly made by the individuals, not by big companies, not by real estate investment trusts. So we are working on this in order to create the possibility for this trust to invest in residential with a good profitability. Some examples. This is an example of mixity of use and innovation. This is a big project at Pleyel, Saint-Denis Pleyel, by a developer whose name is Sogelim Dixence. And this is the idea I talked about a few moments ago of creating a whole new district with office buildings, with retail centers, with entertainment, with co-working, perhaps with co-living, with a lot of innovation and residential. And one of the boosters of this Grand Paris project is what we call l'appel à projet, which is a contest for the developers, for the investors, in order to give the possibility to open new areas of investment with the public authorities. And the name is to reinvent the metropolis. This competition is there with the different sites which were chosen. And it's now done with a competition whose result is 7.2 billion euros of money, fresh money raised for this, 61 sites, 225 acres, and you must know that the biggest one, the biggest of these sites are, we know that there, Saint-Denis Pleyel, probably in this area, and in the Western Crescent. And probably this is one of the examples of how we can enhance rapidly with private money, with private funds, the possibility to build new areas in the Greater Paris project. And another winner is another example is the winner of this project competition, Site Pleyel, Saint-Denis, Immeuble Les Lumières. As you can see, it's a very innovative concept with a bridge, with vegetal, with biodiversity, with everything, entertainment, retail, residential, and so on. This is one of the biggest examples, and we want to prove, to give the evidence with that we are able to make something new, not only districts with offices and other towns with residential. A new kind of life for people with residential near the business offices, co-working, co-living, innovation, and so on. And another one of these projects is a project of ICAD in a site whose name is Zach Leon Bloom. And this project tries to think the development in order to make him functional, multimodal, and to deploy a lively and attractive neighborhood center in one of the most populated hubs of one of the big lines, which is the line 15. This is a very innovative housing project, and we think that this is an example of what we will do in the Greater Paris. This means attractivity, and the attractivity of France is not bad, and the attractivity of Paris is good, and as you can see, it's going up now rapidly because the context is favorable. And you know, London and Singapore were in the leading positions in the last years, followed by Paris after. But now it has fluctuated. We are not number one, but we are reaching the best place in this rating. And we will probably continue to go there, to go to a very competitive place for business and for real estate. And we can give the evidence that we are investing a lot for the people, but also for the investors and for the companies, in order to make this Greater Paris project a big deal, a big challenge for growth, attractivity, flexibility, and modernization of the Greater Paris region. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. We can see he make our education of Greater Paris, because I think we learned a lot of today. It was an amazing day, and most of us can see that it's the biggest project I see and I tell in the world. There is no another project the same in the world like Greater Paris. It's for this reason I would like to thank more and more Mr. Bernard Michel and Alexandre myself really, to be here and to develop with us. Really.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.